Greetings and a warm welcome from me, astrologer Patrick Arundell. Today, in the latest of my deep dive videos, I'm going to explore the journey of Mars through the sign of Capricorn, which begins on January the 4th. It goes on through to the 13th of February, a total of 41 days. I'm going to look at the themes of Mars through its rulership of Aries, the first house, and Scorpio, the 8th house, but also what we can expect in Capricorn, where Mars is exalted. So really exciting. I'm going to tell you about two absolutely fabulous influences that Mars is going to make. But also I'm going to share the event chart with you, which sees the ascendant at 1 degree in Cancer, and Mars is right on the descendant of that point, so that does add a degree literally of complexity. So I'm going to unpack all of that for you. Then I'm going to share each of the 12 signs from Aries through to Pisces, what you can expect for your sign in terms of your sun or ascendant for this 5.85 week period. So thank you so much for joining me. If you're new to my channel, please share any thoughts you have. This is very much a community. I do answer each comment. If you're a returning visitor, it's lovely to have your company once more. All your comments, shares and subscriptions are truly appreciated. I would also be very grateful if you did like this video as well. Now, we're making our way into year 2024. If you've yet to order your personal forecast for the new year based on your unique birth data, totally individual to you, which shows how the moving planets in the sky are interacting with your natal birth chart, you can see my special offer below a 30% off to order it now. Also, if you'd like to have a one-to-one with me, you can see my testimonials by clicking on the link beneath this video too. Now, let's just briefly summarize what's been going on with Mars recently. Mars has been going through the sign of Sagittarius, which is the 9th zodiac sign. It's mutable, so flexible, and of course fiery. But over the last 10 days, it's been very close to the retreating Mercury. Of course, Mercury went direct on the 2nd of January, but they've both been afflicted by the dreamy, drifting and enervating energy of Neptune. Now, the sign of Sagittarius is known for adventure, travel, independence and freedom. And if you've been setting yourself some New Year's targets to get fitter, or perhaps book that holiday or actually go off somewhere on a journey, it may not have all been literally plain sailing. And that's because Neptune has really had quite the impact on Mars. So even if you've been thinking that you'd like to really take on some kind of new, more virtuous approach, actually finding the get up and go to do that plan may have proved a little elusive. So if you have been feeling low on energy, suffering some viruses, not really feeling 100% well, wouldn't be a complete surprise. So do you know, Mars moving into Capricorn is a really welcome change, because Mars is exalted in Capricorn. We know that Mars rules the sign of Aries and the sign of Scorpio. Through its rulership of Aries and the first house, very much about initiation. It's a cardinal sign. It's about taking the action. It's having the instinctive belief to go for it without necessarily analysing things too much. So it can be a risk taker through its rulership of Aries. But also, it's very much to do with instant gratification. If we want something, Mars gives us the push to go for it. Sometimes that could, through that Aries energy or that first house energy, make us a bit impatient. And of course, if we get thwarted in some situations, we can feel frustrated and angry. Again, very Martian influences. But it also can be about boldness and competitiveness. Through the sign of Scorpio, that's very much more to do with a desire. And that desire, perhaps with that gratification, goes hand in hand. But here, especially with the co-rulership of Pluto, it can be about transformations. And also Mars in its rulership of Scorpio can give us the desire for sex, but also to improve our long-term financial situation. Now, in the sign of Capricorn, which of course is ruled by the steady eddy of the zodiac, Saturn, that more fast-moving, rapid energy of Mars is not received so well, because the risk-taking instincts of Mars come up against the much more cautious and scrutinizing and systematic approach that Saturn gives Capricorn. But Capricorn is the 10th zodiac sign. It's an earth sign, of course, but crucially it's a cardinal sign, so it's a leader sign, just like Aries. But also in the physical realm, it's the sign of culmination, so we can see how far we've developed. So Mars moving into this area primes us up and gives us a push to really go for the goals and ambitions that we haven't quite manifested yet, or where we want to push on from those that we've already achieved. Now, there's an interesting synergy going on, because Pluto, of course, has been in the sign of Capricorn for 15 years, all but 11 weeks of last year in Aquarius, and is set to move into Aquarius on the 21st of January. So what Mars can do, I feel, is just help us to review some of the areas that Pluto's been working its way into our situations, and just see if we do need to be a bit feistier, a bit more determined, perhaps show a little bit more of some sharp elbows if it is in a competitive environment. But it certainly, we can use that desire to improve the more tangible parts of our situation that are important to us. Now, just in a practical way, that could be finding the spark to finish off some do-it-yourself in your house. It could be about moving altogether. It could be applying for a job that you really feel you're worthy of. Or maybe it's promoting your business to raise your profile. Because being the 10th zodiac sign, Mars here is asking us to be more self-assured and self-confident. So it's really exciting. However, as you can see from the event chart on the screen now, which is in Placidus and based on Greenwich, we do have an ascendant at 1 degree and 5 minutes in the sign of Cancer, which of course is the opposite sign to Capricorn. But like Capricorn and Aries, it's a cardinal sign. But it means that although Mars for this event is in the industrious, practical and virtuous 6th house, very Virgoan, it's so close to that 7th house cusp, it's face to face with the ascendant. So what's going to happen over the next near to 6 weeks is, I feel, based on this influence, this birth chart of this whole total period, is that there are going to be some abrasive moments. And this more robust way of competing or connecting with others is going to be very interesting, particularly on the world stage. But in our own situations, you can see there's a mutual receptivity between Mars and Saturn, the ruler of the sign of Capricorn, because they're in a sextile. And ironically, Saturn is in the 10th house. You couldn't make it up. It's just incredible. So we're really being asked to work hard at how we relate to others. And we can relate to others by actually doing things to help one another, because the 6th house can be where we do something practical to support somebody else. So with Mars being there, that doesn't mean to say we should give away all of our power and be a pushover. It means that we need to set our boundaries, but also be open to be supportive. That link with Saturn suggests that if we listen to our instincts, Pisces, it can be useful. But both are also linking back to Jupiter, also in an earth sign in Taurus. And of course, Jupiter now out of its 4-month retrograde, which ended on the 31st of December. Mars is forging a really terrific angle to Saturn and Jupiter at the start of this journey, but it is on the 7th house. Now, Mars on 7th house cusp can create some conflict, to be honest, so we have to use that energy wisely. However, the angle between Mars and Jupiter, which goes on from now through to the 17th of January, is exact on the 12th of January. So please make a note of that in your diary. So what we've got with Jupiter, like Mars, is kind of slowed down in Taurus. Taurus is a more thorough, thoughtful energy, just like Capricorn is, because it's looking for tangible outcomes. So Jupiter's not quite so inclined to boast and brag and get a beyond itself, but this is an angle between the two which can give us a lot of confidence in terms of how we handle the physical realm. So that could be our money, it could be a property matter, it could be thinking, to be honest, about our diet, because Mars in the 6th house is asking us to think about how we can clean up our act a little bit and find that spark of motivation. And Jupiter in Taurus can be about food. That's one way to look at this. We also have a terrific angle between Mars and Uranus. That goes on from the 26th of January to the 3rd of February. Now that's a very radical alliance, because Uranus is in its full in Taurus, but it is out of its retrograde by this point. But linking with Mars, just like Jupiter, it's very confident. It's very much about listening to our instincts and going for it with our foot hard to the floor, in terms of being very determined and really very progressive in our approach. So I feel that after the stodgy energy that Mars ran into at the end of its journey through Sagittarius, which has seen a lot of travel disruption, we've had a lot of floods in Britain, we've had the earthquake in Japan, which Mars and Mercury so close together, very abrasive, brittle and unyielding, even though in the mutable sign of Sagittarius. Interesting, of course, because beyond any country in the world, I feel that Japan has developed the technology to deal with earthquakes. But that certainly has been an issue, especially that affliction to Neptune. So I feel that we can really start to get going now. So some of the things that have been delayed, perhaps just from having time off over the holidays, or perhaps being a little bit below par, or even unwell with any viruses that have been going around, which did happen to my wife, bless her, for 2 weeks, knocked out by COVID. So we've all found it a little bit more difficult to really gain traction. So I feel our traction into this new year is really going to start to happen from now. Please stay with me as I go through each of the 12 signs, from Aries through to Pisces. And you can watch these from the perspective of your ascendant, your sun, even your moon if you want. So Aries, ever since Saturn moved into Pisces on the 7th of March, as I've explained several times to you, I feel there has been a duality to your situation. You had those 2 key lunations in your sign last year, and of course they were impacted by both Pluto and Jupiter, but you still may not quite be at the point you want to be in your professional or worldly interaction. Mars comes along to really give you a lot of motivation over this next near to 6 weeks. And remember, Mars is your ruler, so you have a kinship with this this ingress, this change that has unfolded. So I feel it's important to be really clear about what your goals are. And that's where the single-mindedness of Mars, that more masculine energy, can be very good. Helps us to not worry so much about how things might be perceived. It's really asking us to get our heads down, be very, very focused on a more narrow range of aims, but really power towards them in a very systematic, Capricorn, organised, Saturn, way where we get some kind of outcome that gives us a tangible result. So it may be since March that you have felt a little bit pulled in different directions. Some new things have started, some old things have been drying up. But I feel now you can really get your focus going again, which is really exciting. There's nothing like in Aries when you're really on top form, determined to really get what you need. So that's the opportunity for you in the weeks ahead. So Taurus, over the last 15 years or so, and then in the last 5 years, Pluto and Uranus have really been provoking and pushing you and trying to shake up the steady routines that have in the past seemed so appealing. And it has seen a lot of Taurans doing different things, traveling more, learning new skills, moving around, and challenging that archetype that you really do find those comforting routines absolutely essential for you to prosper. And I feel that Mars moving into your 9th house is brilliant if you are going to push yourself outside your comfort zone. So if your New Year's resolution is to be bolder in your approach, this is a fabulous opportunity. You can surf this energy brilliantly well. If you are heading off on any kind of long distance travel, this is brilliant because this is very adventurous and very daring and independent in your 9th house. So your timing is absolutely impeccable if that's the case. But of course we can travel from the comfort of our homes through the information and knowledge that we gain. And so Mars moving into this sector for you gives you a chance to embrace that knowledge. And because you have 2 planets in your sign in the guise of Jupiter and Uranus, which both are linking up with Mars in such a productive way, do you know, really, if there's something that you've long wanted to do and have felt a little bit tentative about it, you could find that you can really turn the afterburners on and make some decisive decisions which can see you being very action orientated and really bring in an extra slice of excitement into your personal domain. Gemini, Mars moving into Capricorn is going to be very redolent of its influence from its rulership of Scorpio. 8th house energy, wow. Well, if you're wanting to improve your long-term finances, whether it's carefully scrutinizing how you can squeeze a bit more from your assets, how you can do some financial planning which takes care of future prosperity for you, or you're thinking about going into your own business, or you're wanting to bring an extra spark of passion into your world, then this is really going to be a fantastic asset to you. Now, of course, once Pluto moves into Aquarius on the 21st, joining with the Sun, which moves on the 20th of January, that combination in itself gives you a lot of encouragement to be more risk-taking. But what you can do in the lead up to then, and particularly mark the 20th of January in your diary, because the Sun and Pluto will be conjunct in Capricorn that day. So Mars coming in is going to augment them, and they can help you to see just how far you've transformed your psychological insights, your understanding of the deeper machinations of life over the last 15 years. If you're a later born Gemini, the last few years may have been really quite challenging, to be honest. If you're an earlier born Gemini, you may have found that you've had some really good results of late. But Mars moving into this area is really asking you to ask yourself some questions, because sometimes we can't shift something in life unless we go through some kind of confrontation. Now, that confrontation could be with yourself. So if you're not able to confront a part of your psychological pattern or a way of being that feels really quite stuck, this may be the opportunity to test yourself out. Now, it could be in a very physical way. You could play some kind of sport, particularly if it's a kind of grappling and close, intimate type of sport, such as judo, or some other kind of martial art, or you want to, in some ways, get up close and personal to someone in a more intimate way, someone you really fancy. If there is someone who you've been doing a lot of talking with over the last 6 weeks, now you want to find out if it can really take that next step from those polite, perhaps flirty conversations to something that's tastier, much deeper, much more moving to your soul and your life experience. So it can be a very, very exciting period of time for you. But if you are someone who's wanting to raise money for business, you're wanting to be more entrepreneurial, you may encounter some people who don't necessarily get what you want to do. So that is where the grit of Mars can really be such an asset to you. So Cancer, over the 15 years that Pluto's been in the sign of Capricorn, all apart from those 11 weeks last year, it may have transformed your relationships in a very positive way, or you may have seen the breakdown of some relationships that haven't worked out. Mars is coming along sort of almost like as a sweeping up exercise. It's looking around, it's checking out the terrain, it's seeing what you can do just to make sure that you've closed off any challenge to you, because Mars in the 7th house can be about competition. Got to be honest with you. If you are someone who really enjoys those one-to-one type of sports, badminton, squash, tennis, chess even, a great chance to prime up your competitive spirits over the next 6 weeks. But if you're wanting to bring a new life into your relationship sector, if something has made way or your affections have been starved of a connection to somebody, Mars moving here can just give you that push to be much more interactive with others, to demonstrate your desire to forge those connections. So really the next 6 weeks, but particularly the 20th of January, I think you could be quite amazed at how you might be a little more daring in terms of trying to meet up with people, reinvigorate an existing relationship. If you feel that you've not been respected as much as you could be, you're going to want to reinforce your boundaries. So that's what I mean about Mars coming along, checking out the terrain and seeing how it can help you. So Leo, Mars moving into Capricorn for you is terrific for your stamina, because as much as Mars in Sagittarius is brilliant for strutting our stuff, feeling glamorous, feeling very alluring, enjoying being very playful, and you may have had quite a social time between Christmas and the New Year, it probably has left you a little bit drained. If it's not left you depleted in terms of your energy, it may have left you feeling a bit more depleted in terms of your income. So Mars moving into the 6th house can give you the get-go to start to grapple with all the practical things that may seem profoundly unsexy, but we know if we can declutter, if we can get things working in an organised way in our home, if we can check our diet, make some changes, be a bit more inventive about our exercise routine or what we're eating and drinking. If we're in a job that we find dull, use the thrust of Mars to go and find another one. So it's all there for you. Pluto's been operating in this sector for a long time, and so long that actually I feel at times your need to manifest your individuality is being blunted. But if there are still some things that you don't have quite working as efficiently as you would like, that's where you're going to be putting your attention over this next near to 6 weeks. So Virgo, Mars moving into Capricorn is brilliant for you because it's been going through the 4th house, which is quite awkward, and you may have found certain close relationships rather draining, especially over the last 10 days when your ruler Mercury was in the retrograde in your 4th house, very close to Mars, both afflicted by Neptune in your 7th house of relating, but of course Saturn also squaring up to Venus as well. So some family and emotional relationships, or just your own emotional energy, may have been really on the low side. So Mars moving into the 5th house gives you a spark of enthusiasm. It also reignites your wonderful sense of humour, your earthy sense of humour, but it's also encouraging you to be more playful, but also to demonstrate your talents. You know, if you've got qualities, whether you're a maker, a crafter, an artist, and you feel that that could become a bigger part of your situation, then obviously the 5th house is pushing you to have a little bit more belief, because Mars can be about confidence, belief in what makes you different, special and unique. So particularly with the great link to Jupiter and Uranus, which are in very daredevil parts of your situation, this next 6 weeks could be extremely exciting for you. So really embrace the opportunity as fulsomely as you can. So Libra, Mars moving into Capricorn is a real interesting one because, of course, Pluto has been such a testing challenge over those last 15 years. But I think Mars can help you to just really reinforce to certain individuals what you will or will not accept. And it may be very much to do with your emotional world, your family life, anything to do with where you live and how you live there. You're going to be wanting to use the activity of Mars in a very industrious Capricorn way, and you can do that. So if there are some things at home you want to change, you want to do some painting, you want to do some adaptation, refitting, upgrading, you can do it. Or in a more emotional context, if you want to make it clear to people some of your boundaries, or you would like to work from home, express yourself, the urgency of Mars could see you creating a newer, better and more defined space in your home that gives you a little bit more of a close off with the other domestic things going on. That would be a great thing to do with Mars in the 4th house. Also, if you've got some weights or you want to listen to some dance music to get fitter in the comfort of your home, why not? So Scorpio, Mars moving into Capricorn is lovely for you because, of course, it means that it's in the same sign by zodiac sign as your modern higher octave ruler of Pluto coming to the end of its journey in Capricorn, its penultimate journey. And so Mars coming here brings an urgency to what you want to say. If you've come into this new year and felt sluggish, not really a surprise, to be honest. The 2nd house energy of your ruler Mars and Mercury in the 2nd house can be very much to do with enjoying the good things in life. There's calorific goodies because they've been squaring up with 2 5th house energies. Maybe you have really had a good time, but now Mars moving into the 3rd house can see you want to get more active. So if you're a born again couch potato, it's now a great opportunity to climb off, get on that exercise bike, go to your local gym, step up the amount of steps you're doing each day. But also if you've got a message through a website or through your TikTok or Twitter accounts that you want to share, you can do so with a lot of thrust, a lot of determination. And the links with Jupiter means that if there's somebody that you're drawn to in a romantic way, you'll need to show more urgency about how you connect with them. You're certainly going to reach a peak on the 12th. So if there's someone you fancy, you're really being encouraged to be a bit bolder in your approach to how you go for it. But the 3rd house can also be modes of transport, and of course Mars can be about desire. So if you're wanting to upgrade your mode of transport or your technology, also 3rd house, it really wouldn't be a surprise over this next near to 6 week period. So Mars moving out of your sign Sagittarius into your 2nd house. Now I think Mars has definitely been exciting for you over the last 6 weeks. It's just that last 10 days. Oh, I really feel it's probably been quite challenging to balance what you've wanted as an individual to what you've had to give to support others. So home, personal and family issues may have been quite draining and taking you away from the focus on the things that you really want to concentrate upon. But of course you know that life's a juggle. It's not all on our own terms, but Mars in the 1st house likes it to be on our own terms. But the great thing is that if you have been quite inventive and working on an idea that has stalled a little bit with Mercury's retrograde in your sign, you get a chance now to really start to gain traction, to get your feet into the ground and inch forwards. But you won't just inch forwards, you'll actually start to take a yard forward, because that's the amount of extra vitality that's going to start to come in for you. But If you want to improve your financial lot or manage your resources in a more astute way, slicing back on your domestic budget is a great way to do it. And Mars can make you very enterprising about the way you go about things. Could be being more creative about your food options, cooking stuff from scratch. It could be analysing your bank statement to see some of the subscriptions that could make way to give you a greater sense of security. So I think you're going to be taking your finances very, very seriously over the next 6 weeks. But also, if you are someone who wants to enter into some kind of dietary regime, the second house can be where we really want to scoff those lovely calorific goodies. So Mars could give you the extra willpower to actually stay off the things that you know have perhaps gone on a little bit or you've consumed over the festivities. So all in all, I feel that you're going to be feeling a lot better pretty quickly with this transition. So Mars moving into your sign, Capricorn, is something to truly appreciate. Once Mercury moves back into your sign on the 14th of January, you'll really feel a lot more grounded and in the present. Because I feel uncharacteristically for you, you may have been quite concerned about what people felt about you, neighbours, siblings. There may have been a bit of insecurity around you, or maybe you just felt so totally washed out. You really haven't had a lot of spark. So Mars moving into your sign is going to give you an instant jolt of extra energy, which you're really going to appreciate. The first house is where we can start things, but it's also where we can manifest our individuality. So if you feel that's got compromised a little bit with the Sun and Pluto in your sign and now Mars, soon to be joined, like I say, by Mercury on the 14th, you're really going to start to make some rapid progress. But first you need to decide what the things are that are important to you. So Mars in the first house is asking you to focus more on what you want and not be so worried about what other people are thinking or how other people may be judging you. So it's asking you to be extraordinarily single-minded. So if you are, you can get something new off the ground or reinvigorate an ongoing strand that maybe has stalled, and that can really start to pick your spirits up. So Aquarius, for you, Mars moving through your 12th house can be quite complex, to be honest. You've had Pluto here for those 15 years, and it's going to be moving into your sign, of course, on the 21st, the Sun on the 20th into Aquarius, which you're really going to appreciate. So Mars moving here can have a tendency to rake up old anxieties, old injustices, hurts and angers that have been right down in the deepest parts of your psyche. Perhaps you have visited some of those things many times in the past, but it's amazing how rooted in our bodies, in the cells of our bodies, that emotions can be. And Mars in the 12th house is a very surprising influence at times, at moments making us very angry and at other times very tearful. So, you know, prepare yourself for this, but you've also had that 15-year crash course of the deep transformative Pluto in your 12th house. Maybe what Mars is going to say to you over this next 6 is, look what you've learned. Look how far you've come in letting go of things that no longer serve your greater good, of letting go of the people who didn't get you, who disappointed you, who betrayed you, and actually welcoming this Mars in the 12th house energy. It could also see someone from your past get in touch with you. Could be an influential person to do with work, to be honest. But if you're someone who's much more at peace with your past and that life isn't always a straightforward process, actually Mars can help you to beaver away in the background, preparing things ready for when the Sun moves into your sign on the 20th of January. And you can make the transition through this 12th house energy into the new dawn that is Pluto moving into your sign on the 21st, and actually really be very conscious of how much you need to salute what you've been through, because I really feel for a lot of Aquarius people, particularly if you have got an angle in any of the cardinal signs, it really has been quite a brutal time at moments. So This is just an opportunity to just have a look around. If there's a few outstanding things, you know, I got them. Keep looking at them, keep working with them, keep trying to get some air around them, keep trying to get the layers to come up, to let the sediment come up, so we try and get more and more perspective on why some people, 12th house, can be secret enemies, but betrayal, why some people just didn't get us. And the more we don't take it personally, the more we're freeing up energy to embrace that hugely exciting future that's set to dawn on the 21st of January. So Pisces, for you, Mars has been going through your sector of goals, ambitions, and raising your profile. Very useful. The problem was it was in a quarrel with Neptune, your gaseous and rather complex co-ruler, which has taken some of the best energy out of Mars. So it may be that some of your big goals and ambitions have stalled so much over the last 10 days or so that you've kind of lost any real expectation that they're going to get going again. Well, honestly, Mars moving into this sector is really going to disperse that inertia and fire you up. The 11th house is about your future, it's about your network, it's about your friendships, your alliances, your groups, your affiliations. It's about the things you celebrate at a higher level beyond the physical and more material plane. So it's the things that are a bit more spiritually important to us, but it's your chance to drive hard towards that longer term idea or plan that's really, really important to you. So put your foot really hard to the floor over the next 6 weeks. It's been a real pleasure being with you. Thank you so much for joining me for this Mars presentation, and please do like, share, comment or subscribe.